This is Jim Skelly. It's just after Easter. Our holidays are over, and we have 3 more weeks left in the global conversation this spring. This is mini lecture number 10 that you can find on YouTube at our channel. I hope you've had a lovely holiday. A fair bit to talk with you about, some very interesting developments with regard to the course. We were asked to submit an application for to be nominated for a big summit in the United States as an example of educational initiatives that look at the development of citizen diplomacy. And we would seem to qualify on a lot of bases, so we're hoping that that will actually be one of the projects chosen. It would certainly open up possibilities to expand the course a great deal. We only have 3 weeks left in the class. I hope you've been attending to the learning circles. Shall I remind everybody about these? Because you know, it's time is really running, and I hope you're looking at that and also looking at the requirements for the final essay. Please, as I've said many times before, please don't hesitate to be in touch with me if you have any problems attending to any of the work. So it is important to get it done, and I hope you'll be able to do it. I did want to say I sent a note to many of the ISIS students today. I received some absolutely fabulous midterm essays from the ISIS students, and one of the things I was particularly, the ISIS students down in Hungary, I was particularly impressed with how the passion with which they expressed their moral concerns about some of the issues that we've been dealing with. So I think that's great. This week is the week that we talk about food in the class, and there's a lot of great stuff. You know, my tendency is always to put too much on the website for you to take a look at. There's a great video that you'll find. I think it's done in France, as I recall, Skipping Waste. It's looks at how much food is wasted in rich societies, and as you know, I think there is a book out that looks at the amount of food that's wasted. It's a question I like to ask people: how much food is thrown away every day in the United States and the United Kingdom? And it's enough food to feed 1.5 billion people. What's especially troubling about that is that, of course, there are close to 1 billion people on the planet who do not get enough food to eat. And so here we are in rich countries throwing food away. Really horrible, in my opinion. At the same time, of course, there are various threats to food security. And there are a couple of videos, short videos, talking about this. Professor John Beddington, who is the British government advisor, the top scientific advisor, is warning that food security, and if you tie it in with declining water supplies and the decrease in agricultural land, is one of the biggest challenges that we face in the world. So take a look at those 2 interviews. They're very short, but they'll give you a sense for things. I often like to ask students how much more snow pack is there in the Pyrenees between France and Spain in the summertime compared to 100 years ago. Well, it's about 10% of what it was 100 years ago, and what that means is that there's a lot less water coming down into the valleys, and therefore agricultural lands are disappearing in the Pyrenees region. So, you know, these are important issues, and there's a couple of other videos that I highly recommend. One is a very short one, Paul Roberts and the End of Food Prices. And the End of Food, he's saying that because of the, among other things, the price of food is going way up, and it could be, you know, he wrote a book called The End of Food, and I think you might really want to take a look at this. There's one short video of 4 minutes, and then there's an hour-long lecture with him. Two other things. There's a very interesting panel discussion with Michael Pollan and Eric Schlosser, who wrote Fast Food Nation, and Vandana Shiva, who's an activist from India. And they're talking with the founder of Slow Food International. In other words, no more fast food. Let's take a look at slow food and see if we can't support that. And lots of people are horrified with the way in which we eat fast without even thinking about what it is we're eating. And when I finish this talk with you tonight, I'm going to have myself a nice leisurely dinner. So, it is something to think about, and our relationship to food. Final video, there's a clip, essentially, I think it's about 15 minutes or so, from a film that I want to get as a part of the packet that we're putting together of videos that will be useful, and that is called King Corn. And it's a look at two college students who actually traced out what happens when you produce corn. And what they did, very clever I must say, is that they bought an acre of land in Iowa in the United States, which is the heart of corn growing country, and then traced out what happens to that corn. They're especially concerned with how corn is in everything because of agricultural policy. Corn products, especially corn sugars, are in almost everything we eat, and so it really permeates our bodies as well. And it's very funny. These guys were very clever in doing what they did. So take a look at that clip. You may want to try and get a hold of the entire video. I also wanted to note that the Earth Hour game, which we played before, not too many played it, I must say, but Sarah Plou down in Strasbourg, France, has won the game, and so she's going to get a special video. She'll get a copy of The Age of Stupid, which is about what happens when you don't pay attention to climate change. Very challenging film, but we're going to send that to Sarah. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention tonight was the new book by Daniel Goleman called Ecological Intelligence. Now, what's interesting about what Goleman has written is that he's suggesting that we are now in a stage in our human development, if you will, where we can actually take a look at what's called industrial ecology. I actually think that this is probably what Annie Leonard would like to see, in which basically looks at, does a life cycle analysis of specific products. So my thinking is that you'll find this very, very interesting. I'll give you a link to the article that I've just read about this in the Irish Times from a couple of days ago, and also send you a link to Goleman's book, and also to something that's mentioned in the Irish Times article called The Good Guide, which allows you to take a look at various products that we all use, and the database apparently is going to keep expanding, and which rates them according to the consequences of how they're produced, all sorts of additional information that you would want if you really want to be green. Because Goleman thinks that the way that green is used today is basically an illusion, that a lot of products that are characterized as green aren't really green. So I'll send you that information in the email. I hope you have a good week. I hope you're able to spend some time working on the learning circles, and I'll talk to you very soon indeed.